time to talk about Norfolk Southern. As many of you might remember, Norfolk Southern is the company behind the train derailment that poisoned East Palestine and caused a colossal fire, is likely going to contribute to hundreds, if not thousands, of people getting deadly levels of sick and injured as a result. And, well, that happened last year. The CEO got a 37% raise. The CEO got a 37% raise. Now, I need you all to understand that he got this raise despite the fact that the Norfolk Southern train derailment disaster poisoned an entire town and put the company on the hook for over $1 billion in damages. Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw received a 37% increase in compensation last year, even after the company's railroad was involved in a financially and ecologically disastrous derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Yeah. Shaw received $13.4 million in total compensation in 2023, up from $9.8 million in 2022. His base salary rose $200,000 to over $1 million at $1.1 million, and his stock and option awards rose $2.2 million to $10 million. Last year was Shaw's first full year as CEO after starting on May 1st, 2022, so part of the increase in compensation can be attributed to having worked more months on the job last year than the year earlier, but he was president of the company in the first 4 months of 2022, and his promotion to the role in late 2021 had already resulted in his compensation more than doubling in 2022 compared to 2021. Yeah. Failing upwards is the term that comes to mind. Yeah, the disaster cost the railroad $1.1 billion, according to its most recent estimate. The company's overall net income fell 44% last year to $1.8 billion, and shares of Norfolk Southern fell 22% in the 2 months following the incident. But the stock has since recovered most of its value, and its current share price is slightly above its pre-derailment level. So, in case you guys need to know how, investing works, basically, you need to be evil. Basically, for a lot of it, if you are an actual good investor, you need to be kind of evil, right? Can we get a recap on how big that explosion was? I mean, the explosion was actually not the worst part. The worst part was the fact that they literally left all these poisonous chemicals in the accident site that leach into the ground and the groundwater and are deadly and cancerous. And there's no way to really undo that. So they've actually had to implement in East Palestine, Ohio, a policy and a program of resettlement for people in the town that were close enough to the derailment. The environmental damage is incalculable. So yeah. But basically, after a disaster like this, there's a decent chance, if it's a company that's considered too big to fail, if the stock price drops, it's gonna go right back up again in pretty short order. So yeah, if you want to be the evil, an evil profiteer, that's one way you can make money, I guess. Goodness. Yeah, the drinking water is likely contaminated beyond all belief. Hey, Cyborg Cat, how you doing? But yeah, also the resettlement plan that I mentioned right there uh, ended on February 9th. So if you didn't get a resettlement package from Norfolk Southern by February 9th, you're out of luck. And if you were trying to get a resettlement or some kind of like compensation from the company for the disaster, basically the people who've been going through it describe the process as incredibly arbitrary and full of bureaucratic roadblocks. Because again, the company's not interested in actually paying out any kind of money or resettling anybody. Their interest is in conserving their own resources as much as possible, and they just need to make token gestures to get enough people off their backs that they can move forward without this coming up again and again and again. And yeah, they're just going to continue lobbying for less and less safety on trains. As far as where things stand with East Palestine, Ohio today, a year after Ohio train derailment, families have nowhere safe to go. Norfolk Southern cut off relocation aid to families struggling with neurological issues and medical bills as a result. For her son's 7th birthday, the first one after he witnessed a Norfolk Southern train going up in flames, Ashley McCullum decided to take her family to the water park. They'd been staying in a hotel 10 miles away from their East Palestine house ever since they were evacuated last February. Going to the water park, however, meant they'd have to leave their 2 dogs in the empty house. When they returned from their trip, less than 24 hours later, the dogs were vomiting and had diarrhea. Their symptoms persisted for 3 days. She wasn't surprised. The few times she did enter her house after the derailment, McCullum's teeth would hurt and she'd wake up with debilitating cramps in her legs the next day, to the point where my toes would spread apart and you could see the tendons in my legs rise up. This is a year later. A year later, spending a day in her own house would leave her pets with vomiting and diarrhea, and she herself would be feeling aches and pains all over. Like the damage done to East Palestine, Ohio is incalculable. And this article, by the way, came out on February 3rd. Ohio officials announced it was safe for residents like McCollum to return to East Palestine 5 days after February 3rd, 2023 derailment of the Norfolk Southern train and subsequent release of hazardous chemicals. But 5 families who spoke to the Inquirer just before the 1-year anniversary say they're still dealing with health problems, because of course they are. Of course, the company's done almost nothing to actually fix this. There are no scientific studies yet that prove long-term health effects of chemical exposure from the derailment. I mean, yeah, there are no long-term studies on the long-term health effects because it's only been 1 year. But relocated families are still experiencing symptoms and foot many of their medical bills without help from the railroad or the government. They don't consider their East Palestine homes to be safe, and they're worried that moving back will worsen their symptoms, because of course it will. They're poisoned irrevocably, and that's kind of the problem here. Like, they own the property, but no one wants to buy a house that is covered in poison and makes people sick and die if they live in it. My God. Are the people there able to do some kind of class action lawsuit? I think there was some kind of colossal bullshit related to class action stuff. Yeah, basically, oh god damn it. Basically, Norfolk Southern argues, oh my god, I hate this. I hate this so much. Argues that they can't do a class action lawsuit because of U.S. law. They asked a U.S. judge to toss a proposed class action lawsuit it is facing over a February train derailment. The railroad company told a federal court in Youngstown, Ohio, that the consolidated complaint filed last month on behalf of roughly 500,000 area residents, businesses, and property owners relies on vague and conclusory allegations that it acted improperly, leading to the crash. The company said it is required as a common carrier under U.S. law to transport hazardous materials like those spilled and caught fire, including vinyl chloride. It said the plaintiff's negligence, nuisance, and strict liability claims are preempted by federal laws like the Hazardous Materials Transportation Act and the Federal Railroad Safety Act. Those laws expansively regulate railroad operations and bar those sorts of claims based in state law, Norfolk said. Yeah. So basically, they're saying, well, there are laws that protect us, so you can't sue us for poisoning all y'all. Yeah. The CEO should be forced to clean up East Palestine himself. Well, he's not going to do that. Yeah, also, like, the government of Ohio doesn't want to actually recognize that this is happening because it would make them look really, really bad and incompetent, considering they gave the order to burn the hazardous chemicals that then polluted everyone. It's wild. Let's continue going through this. McCollum stopped going back to her East Palestine home when her doctor advised against it. Her boyfriend went back for her, sometimes to feed the family's lizard or to retrieve the mail. Entering the house made his tongue and lips go numb. He said he would go back to the hotel and pass blood. Like, even now to this day, she said, I feel like we don't have a home because when I go there, I get sick. Yeah, you don't have a home. You can't live there. It's literally making blood leak out of your orifices. Does this mention the class action? I don't know what happened with that. Oh, wait. Ferguson went to the Cleveland Clinic to get a urine test in April. She tested positive for vinyl chloride, the Class A carcinogen released during the vent and burn that followed the derailment. Because, yeah, you burned the chemical that, like, is so incredibly deadly to inhale that it was used during World War I as a chemical weapon. Just, man, dude. Yeah, this one, lawsuit? Nope, no lawsuit in here. Damn. I'm guessing that the class action lawsuit still continued to go forward, but... Oh, no. Okay. So basically, the class action lawsuit, I believe, did go forward. Or at least one of them did. Boo. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, this class action lawsuit, I believe... Oh man, this website is incomprehensible. Here we go. Damages sought. I'm getting like different numbers from some of these. Yeah, like one of the class action lawsuits is for $500 million. I just, I don't know that any of this will be enough to actually solve the problem, you know. It's still going on. Thank you, Paladin. I'm not good at looking through court cases. Okay, so I'm guessing that it was not like the motion to dismiss did not go through. So good. Yeah. The class this class action was filed February 7th, literally like a couple days after. Good. It's not up to date, but like the last action was filed on February 7th of last year. So, or wait, sorry, not February 7th of last year. April 6th of last year? Yeah. I wish there was more reporting on this class action lawsuit. I feel like it's really important. But be that as it is, yeah. This should be remembered the same way as Chernobyl. It really should be. And I think everyone involved at the company should be prosecuted, like, for crimes. Like, absolutely. Like, absolutely. Their company profited off of poisoning thousands of people. They obliterated a town off the map for all intents and purposes. It won't be remembered at all. I mean, I'll remember it. I remembered it today. We're remembering it right now. They definitely need charge. Part of the problem, Snoogan, is that like the things that I would allege are criminal would be things that they lobbied to make legal, you know? Like the company lobbied for decades against like safety regulations, that could have possibly prevented something like this. And so like part of it is like they've made it unsafe, but they've made it unsafe in a legal way. In like a just world, they would be prosecuted for crimes against society.